Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the last science video in year 9, 24, 25. Today we're discussing about the important notes I sent you at the last thing I shared with you. Please, every single question is important. These important notes is very important. Please do not ignore any question and think that, oh, it doesn't look like an exam question, I will not study it or something, because you're gonna find it smiling at you the first thing on the exam paper. Just please don't ignore it. The first question here is about to know the difference or to compare between series circuit and parallel circuit. You should know the drawing. This is drawing with symbols and this is drawing with the real components. For the series circuit, it has all the components are connected in one path or one loop. For the parallel circuit, all components are connected on different branches or different loops, more than one loop, or more than electric path. Okay, another very important difference is the difference of the current and the voltage. In the series circuit, it has the same current. Same current flows through all components. It does not change. If you use an ammeter, if you put an ammeter anywhere here in the series circuit, it will give you the same measurement everywhere. If it's 0.2 amperes here, it's going to be 0.2 amperes here, 0.2 amperes. The current will not change. But it changes in the parallel circuit. It splits, it gets divided between the branches. For the voltage, before that, how to memorize which one is the same where. Here, series circuit starts with S and ends with T. Same current again start with S and end with T. So here S, T, S, T, so you can memorize it easily. For the voltage, it's the opposite. So if you memorize one thing, you can just say the opposite of the voltage and it will be so easy. For the parallel circuit, the voltage is the same. If you use a voltmeter anywhere in the parallel circuit, it will give you the same reading everywhere across all the branches. But it doesn't happen in the series circuit. It's actually the voltage is shared between components. So here in the series circuit, same current. Parallel circuit, same voltage. Also for the series circuit, it is not so helpful in real life, because if one component fails, if one component breaks, if we break this bulb, the entire circuit will stop. This bulb fails, the other bulb also will stop, because they're all in one loop. But for parallel circuit, it's not the same thing. Actually, every bulb has its own path or has its own branch. That's why it does not get affected. If this bulb gets fails or breaks or whatever, the other bulbs will remain perfectly working. Because everyone has its own path and the voltage is not gonna get divided. The voltage is the same everywhere in the whole circuit. So for the advantages of the parallel circuit, we have the same voltage everywhere across all the branches. The voltage does not change. Also, other components still work if one fails. That's why it's good to use it everywhere. Home wiring systems, the lights, the sockets, everywhere you really use in real life, you have a socket and you just turn it on and off. This is actually a parallel circuit. But series circuit, you use it for the Ramadan decorations, for the fairy lights, the old style one, because if one breaks, the others also stop. Just try to have any fairy light, remove one of the bulbs, you'll find out that all of the bulbs stopped working suddenly. So it's not so يعني easy to use it. It's not the best choice. Okay, for the second question, the renewable and the non-renewable energy resources, you need to memorize the comparison. It is very important. And by the way, the exam, you need to train your fingers. See, this hand is gonna cry in the exam. Your hands are gonna just like beg for mercy because you have to write a lot. And this pace lift for you to write doesn't look like you have to write that much, but actually you do. You have to write a lot, and you have to, the questions are not hard, the answers are not hard, they are actually, most of them are already here, but they are long, and you cannot waste any time, because if you say that I'm going to spend some few minutes thinking of this question, you will not have enough time to write all the answers for the exam. Just please use your time wisely and answer all the questions, and do not write short questions and short answers, please. You know, the scientific answers, just don't write anything that's not scientific, or do not summarize your scientific answers, please. Even if this pace, like maybe it looks like this question should be answered in 2 lines, you add the answer. Do not just use the 2 lines and say, oh, I have no space anymore. Please, you know the answers of the questions, just write them anywhere. Okay, I know that I'm talking to myself, and in the exam I'm gonna see short answers again, but like I have said it, please, and I really appreciate it if you listen. For the difference between, and I have a very important question for you again. Why am I stuck here? What am I doing? Isn't it Eid and I'm supposed to be like hanging out and having some good food? What am I doing here? Why am I stuck with some books and mark entry and like revision? Just, am I the one who has the exam? Like, it's supposed, I have graduated already, alhamdulillah, with a good grade, so why am I here? So I thought that I'm gonna stop sacrificing my Eids and Ramadans whenever I graduate. So I realized that I still have to sacrifice them again for almost forever. Like I'm stuck here forever. Alhamdulillah. Okay, enjoy your Eid, but don't eat a lot of cake and food, so you can like have enough time to study, and stop like eating a lot of cake instead of studying, or you're gonna get the cake in your shahada, in your reports card. Okay, you have here the new renewable and the non-renewable energy resources. Renewable means they can be renewed easily, they can be replaced, they are unlimited, they're not gonna run out. Like solar energy, sun. Would you ever like wake up and find that the sun is not there, or someone turned off the sun? Definitely no. The wind, you have the air, no one's gonna steal it. The hydroelectric energy means the energy of the water. You get to turn the water movement into electricity. The biomass is, you can plant trees the whole time, so biomass is still there always. The geothermal energy, there is heat under the ground everywhere and every time. No one's gonna like stop it or something. But here, for the non-renewable ones, they are limited, and they will run out one day. They will end, they will run out. You will not find any of them. Like here, for the coal, oil, natural gas, these 3 are called fossil fuels. They could be found under the ground, and they were formed within like millions of years under very high heat and pressure. That's why like after like burying them under very high heat and pressure for like millions of years, and they were actually remains of dead plants and animals that lived millions of years ago. So whenever you put petrol in your car, that actually was a living thing before, died, and was placed under very high heat and pressure for a very long time, and you just use it for your car. It looks a bit weird. And it's gonna run out one day. Like all the petrol stations and the gas stations, all of these things are gonna run out, and they're gonna be replaced by the renewable ones because they're gonna be the only one exist. Also, from the very important example of the non-renewable energy resources, the nuclear fuel, the nuclear energy, mainly the uranium and the plutonium, they are the main examples. And uranium is an element, and you can find it in like naturally on Earth, created naturally, but if you keep using it, it's gonna run out like any other element on Earth. That's why it is non-renewable energy resource. So here the definition for the renewable energy resources: they are naturally replaced and they are unlimited. For the non-renewable ones, they exist in limited amounts and they run out. They cannot be replaced. If they run out, they run out. It's nothing you can do. There is nothing you can do. Okay. So here we said unlimited can be replaced naturally. Here limited, and it can limited because it was formed over millions of years. So if you want to make petrol and oil and natural gas again, you need to wait for millions of years and need to have the same heat and the same pressure to keep all the fossil fuels again, and this is not possible. And by the way, all of these energy resources, most of them, I can transform them into electricity. But like, why don't we always use the renewable ones? Because they depend on weather. They depend on the amount of sunlight, they depend on wind, they depend on the season, the day and the night. For the non-renewable ones, they work anytime, but they are still gonna run out one day. For the renewable ones, they are clean. They don't cause any pollution. For the non-renewable ones, imagine you're burning coal, you're burning oil, you're burning natural gas, nuclear fuel. All of them are pollutants. They pollute the environment, the air mainly. They harm the living things. They are not environmentally friendly at all. For the renewable ones, they have expensive initial cost. Like to get them from the beginning, they are expensive, but later on they're gonna save money for you. You don't have to keep paying for electricity and water every month. But for the non-renewable ones, they are cheaper to build, to have them from the beginning. They're so cheap, but they will cost you later. You'll still have to pay like every month for them, like literally every day for some things, and they are costly to the environment, means they will ruin the environment, and guess who has to fix it? You. Okay. For the renewable, it can be replaced. For the non-renewable, it cannot be replaced. Okay. For the third question, we're talking about static electricity and current electricity. For static means stationary, means not moving. So it's actually the charges which are built up and stay. They don't move, static in one place. For the current, they flow with the same charges, but when they flow in a conductor. Static electricity, there are charges built up on an insulator, like we will find it on a balloon, or on a rubber, on a plastic or paper. For the current, you will find it flowing in any conductor. It's because of the charges build up on like an insulator, and it's caused because of the friction between objects. Like you rub the objects together and like take the static electricity, take the charges from one object to another, like rubbing balloons. on your hair. Or lightning, a very natural, easy example of static electricity, lightning. For the current, it is like anything that flows in a wire, anything that has a wire, any normal things that has electricity, like TV, fan, phone, anything, literally anything that works with a battery, or that you have to plug it in a socket to work. Yeah, for the ions, the negative ions and the positive ions, I have to do this from the book because some misunderstood a very important part of it. For the negative ions and the positive ions, you need first to memorize their meaning, the definition, and how they are formed, with examples, please. Again, a comparison, a very open comparison you need to understand. Here you have what are ions. First, you have positive ions and negative ions. Let's have a very simple example of a positive ion. Like here you have sodium. Sodium atom naturally has the same number, in like any atom, the same number of protons, positive protons and negative electrons. So here, the normal one, we don't talk about protons because they don't change. We talk about electrons only. So that's how the atom looks like before losing or gaining any electrons. It has one electron in its outermost shell, but that makes it unstable. It needs to have 8 at its outermost or on its outermost shell to be able to be stable. So to react, it will lose this one, and this one will be like the outermost shell. So positive ions, they are formed from like metals. So if the ions are positive, that means they lose electrons. So they lose the outermost shell electrons, which are called valence electrons. And according to the number they lose, they form an ion. Like here, that was the sodium atom, normally Na. After turning into a sodium ion, it has become Na positive one because it lost one electron. So there were first 11 protons and 11 electrons, but after losing, there are now 11 protons again, because the number of protons does not change, but 10 electrons. So it has one positive more than the negative. That's why it's a positive ion. Metals always lose and always form positive ions, like sodium example here. So how do you remember that? Remember that metals are losers, like you when you don't study. Okay. For the non-metals, they do exactly the opposite thing. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you something. Metals, they tend to lose their outermost shell electrons when they have 1 or 2 or 3. Metals always have 1 or 2 or 3. And they lose the 1 or the 2 or 3 electrons they have to form the positive ions. For the non-metals, they gain electrons. They are actually like it could be like any example. Like here you have the chloride ion. As an atom, it has 17 protons, 17 electrons, same thing. So that how the atom looks like. This is the distribution of the electrons in the shells. In the outermost shell, you have 7 electrons. They tend to gain extra electrons to make this outermost shell full. So this 7 to become 8, it needs 1 electron more. That means the 17 electrons became 18 electrons. That's why it has 1 extra electron. That's why it's a negative. So the chloride ion is Cl. Sorry, C is capital and L is small. C capital, L small, negative. Negative because it has negative extra electron. And non-metals, they always have 5 or 6 or 7 on their outermost shell, and they gain whatever the number they need to make them 8. So they always need to make the outermost shell 8. They need to, like, here they will gain 3, here they will gain 2, and here they will gain 1. So non-metals, they are atoms that gained 1 or 2 or 3 electrons to make their outermost shell full and to become stable. There is another name of the positive ion, which is the cation. The negative ion is an anion. As we said, positive ion, the metals formed from metals, and metals are losers. They lose electrons. They lose negative electrons, so they have extra positive protons. For the negative ones, or the anions, they gain electrons, so they have extra electrons, they have extra negative. They are in the non-metals. Okay, so metals lose electrons, positive. Non-metals gain electron, negative. Okay, in the circuit, what is the role of the ammeter and the ampere? The ampere is the SI unit to measure the current. So you say that the current is like 0.8 amperes, 0.9 amperes, like the unit. And the ammeter is the device used to measure the electric current. You just connect the ammeter in a series way with all of the components in the circuit to measure its current. So here, if it says draw and label a simple electric circuit with a cell switch, it doesn't have to say what exactly to draw. You just need to know how to draw an electric circuit with like no mistakes or nothing like missing. First thing, you're gonna have to use it's better if you can like use your pen, and if you can't, you can just use the pencil, it's okay. And a ruler, please do not ignore drawing it neatly and nicely, and you do not just like randomly draw it in a very like messy way. Use the ruler, draw mainly for components, and wire is considered one of the components, so it's fine. This is the battery or the cell. You can label this as the cell more accurately because the battery is 2 of these. So cell would make more like sense, as this is cell, C-E-L-L, cell. And to draw it, you need to, this part is the short part, and this is negative, and this is the long one, it's positive. This is definitely the wire. A switch is open, you can just like close it, and this is the symbol of the light bulb. You have another symbol of the light bulb that looks like a tiny bulb in the book. You can draw any of them, it's okay. And if you want to add an ammeter, add it here. Draw a circle that has letter A inside it, and here exactly in this, between the battery and the light bulb. You need to label them. Do not just draw and label. Do not forget to write what is this, what is this, what is this, and what is this. This is a cell to be like more accurate, switch to control it, wire to connect the light bulb, because you need to make a circuit for a reason, yeah. So you need a light bulb or a buzzer or a motor. Okay, the factors that affect the rate of the reaction and how can they affect it, almost all of them are coming. All of them, every single factor, almost every single factor, in different ways and different scenarios and different questions, but still all of them are going to be in the exam. Here the factors are, the first thing is temperature, If you heat up the particles, you give them energy, and they are already moving, but if they give them energy, they will move faster. Moving faster will make them collide more, so more collisions. So they have like more energy to react and form more successful collisions, so more products or faster products. For the concentration, you add more particles, you don't increase their energy, you just add more particles, so you increase the more frequent collisions or more chances of successful collision as you added more of them. It's like you have like an area of just few people and then another area with like too many people. The area with too many people, they will keep hitting each other like and collide a lot because there are too many. That's exactly what you do when you increase the concentration. You add too many particles, so you make them like react faster as they collide faster, collide more. For the surface area, if you make like smaller pieces or powder, turn something into powder, or smaller particle size, this is all increasing the surface area. So increasing the surface area makes the reaction goes faster. So smaller pieces, like if you have a cube of sugar and if you have a powder of sugar and you try to make them both dissolve in water, which one is gonna dissolve more, the cube or the powder? Definitely the powder. I know that this is not a chemical reaction, but still it has the same concept. The chemical reaction, if you had powdered marbles, powder, and if you have like chips, marble chips, which one will react faster? The powder, of course, will react faster than the marble chips. So you need to make them smaller particle size to react more, to expose more particles to the reactants and to make them like collide more. For the catalyst, you add the catalyst to lower the activation energy. There is a minimum amount of energy you need for any reaction to start. This is called the activation energy, the minimum amount of energy required for any reaction to start. It's very important, the definition is very important. Now, when you add a catalyst, it actually, do you know when there is a car like pulled over on the side of the road and out of nowhere there was a guy just pushing the car out, like helping out the people pushing their car? Then this guy has nothing to do with the car or the people, is just like gonna help pushing it out and go. This guy is the catalyst. The catalyst is the substance you put as a part of the reaction, but it does not react, it does not get used up, it does not react with the reactants. It will enter the reaction and get out of the reaction the same way. Nothing is gonna happen to it. It just speeds it up, it just helps out without being changed or without changing the products of the reaction. It's just a very nice loyal friend. Like the manganese dioxide and the enzymes. Enzymes are also considered the biological catalysts, means they speed up the chemical reactions that happen inside your body, like digestion, like literally any single reaction that happens in your body is controlled by an enzyme. And enzymes are like examples of catalysts. Activation energy is, as we said, the minimum energy or the minimum amount of energy needed for a reaction to start. So if we make it less, the reaction will go fast. So just like make the energy needed for the reaction less, and the reaction will be faster. We just said it, in the series circuit, if one of the bulbs break, the entire circuit will stop. For the parallel, if one of the bulbs breaks, the current will flow, like the other bulbs will continue to work because it has like each has its own separate path for the current. Like the current gets divided anyways over the branches, so it is not gonna stop. Sorry to talk so that fast. I don't want the video to not be that long. What is variation? The definition of variation is very important. The example and the causes are very important too. Variation, diversity, differences. The difference in characteristics among individuals. Like, variation is when animals from the same species, they don't look the same and they don't act exactly the same. They have some variations, they have some differences, and it's caused by mainly two reasons: the genetic reason and the environmental reason, but with explanation, please. I'm opening variation here from the book. Like here, these cutie little kittens, they are all kittens, they're all the same species, but they don't look exactly the same. They don't they are all like siblings from the same parents, but they're still not exactly the same. They have variations between them: the fur color, the different things, the tail, the shape, the features, everything. The main causes of variation are like the genetic factors and the environmental factors. The genes you inherit from your parents, or the organism inherits from its parents, or from the environmental factors, either like inside the womb or outside the womb. Trait, genetically determined characteristic passed on from parents to offspring. Do we still have to explain this? I think it's so easy. Genetically determined means it's determined by your genes. Your genes control your trait. Trait is like your eye color, your hair color. Trait, something that characteristic, something that is in you, and is determined by your genes. Why your eyes are brown? Because you have the genes of the brown eye color. And from where do you get them? They're actually passed on from your parents to you as an offspring. Offspring means like kids or something. They're like literally any trait, like the hair color, the blood type, the eye color, like many. You inherit them. You inherit. What is inherit? What is the meaning of the word inheritance? Inheritance is when you get traits, when the traits are passed from parents to offspring. How are they passed exactly? Through your genes, which are carried on your DNA. So genes are building up your DNA, and the DNA is passing on from your parents to you, or from the parents to the offspring, always in any organism, most of the organisms. So what is DNA exactly? Deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. That's a molecule in your body, in most of the cells in your body, and it's found specifically in the nucleus. The genes, the DNA, the chromosomes, they are all the same concept, and it's found in the nucleus in most of the cells in your body. What does DNA do exactly? If I take your DNA now, I can determine everything. I can know everything. I can know your eye color, I can know your hair color, I can know literally everything about you. I can make an image of you just because I know your DNA, because it has your genetic instructions and it determines the traits that you have. So if your DNA has the black hair color, that means you're gonna born with a black hair. What are genes located in the body? Where are they? They are located in the nucleus. In the nucleus. Please do not write any like weird answers for this question. DNA or genes or chromosomes found in the nucleus, with the correct spelling, please. Okay, here you have static electricity. What's going on exactly in this diagram? You rub the balloon against your hair, or against a road, or against something that has like negative electrons. Let's just open it from here easily. Yeah, here. When you rub it, actually you had some positive and negative here and positive and negative here. When you rub it against your hair, you actually took the negative charges. So that became negative now, this balloon. So it will attract to the positive charges in your head. So now this is negative, your hair is positive, so they attract. As they are not the same charge, they don't have the same charge. Opposite charges attract. So when you rub the balloon, electrons are transferred from hair to the balloon. This causes the balloon to become negatively charged. Please do not draw weird dots on them. What are these dots that you're drawing? Negative things, negative electrons. And the hair to become positively charged because you took all the negatives. So here, this is positive, this is negative. So there is an attraction force. What happens if one ball breaks? We said it. That question is like repeat, but here with like more details. What does variation give to examples? We said this part. Causes of variation, we said it. Trait, we said it. Okay. Explain how natural selection leads to the adaptation of organisms to their environment. Actually, natural selection is when organisms, and nature chooses the organisms which are best suited for their environment, the organisms which can survive better in their environment. They have like the better traits to survive. Like the giraffes example, we said the giraffes did not used to have long necks, all of them, but the ones with long necks were the ones able to survive, while the others were not able to survive, which is called natural selection. So for natural selection, this part summarizes the whole thing. You can also do it from the key points, easier for you. For the natural selection, it's the process whereby organisms with favorable traits means the traits best suited to the environment they live in, that make them best adapted to the environment. It changes from an environment to another, are more likely to survive and reproduce and like increase in number. So if they are good, if you have an example here of the finches, they are the same species but they have different beak shape. Why? Because of their environment, because of the food available in their environment. Like for this one, it's fruit eaters, that's why its bill shape needs to be like this, or like the beak needs to be like this. For these three, they eat insects, that's why they need a bit thin beak here to be able to grab the insects from the holes. Here these are cactus eaters, so they need a very strong bill to be able to not get like poked by the spines. And this one is eating seeds, so it needs a bit strong and wide beak to be able to chew the seeds and like to break them. So whatever the traits the organisms gain from being naturally selected, which is being like surviving if they have good traits, and not surviving, or like good traits for their environment and not surviving if they don't. They use these traits to survive, and they pass it on to the next generation. So natural selection can produce new variations of organisms, just like, cancel this part. New variations of organisms, that's it. Okay. What happens here is natural selection. It helps organisms survive. They're more likely to survive if they have traits best suited to their environment, like they have a specific bill shape that makes them able to eat the food in their surrounding, and they pass it on to the next generations too. Also, it's like the moth, camouflaged insects like the moth. They were able to camouflage, so they were not being eaten by other predators. That's why they survived. The other ones which couldn't camouflage, they were so visible to the predators that they got eaten and they couldn't make it, they couldn't survive. Explain how a child can inherit traits from both parents. You might think that you know the answer to this question, but believe me, you have to include details. I think you don't know like that. You need to include them. They are very important. See this diagram? See this entire page 82. See this part? You need to explain them. You need to write the explanation of them. That's why I'm telling you this piece in the exam is like could trick you. It actually looks like it's easier than it really is. Explain how a child can inherit traits from both parents. Actually, you need to also link this to the zygote thing, but before that you need to say that each parent contributes half of their genes. Like each parent gives half of the genes of the child, not half of the genes of the parent. The parent gives like its genes already, but like every child gets half from the mom and half from the dad, half from the male side and half from the female side. As every new organism was something called zygote, which is a combination of a sperm and egg cells. Inside the sperm there is a nucleus that has the genetic material. Inside the egg, again, there is a nucleus that has the genetic material of the female part. When they fuse, they form the zygote with a combination of both. So inside this cell you can find chromosomes, and they are made of DNA. And actually you do not have the genes of the eye color. You do not have just one gene. You have different versions of the same gene. Like for your eye color you have like different versions or different genes. And you still have some dominant traits and some recessive traits, but the dominant ones are the ones shown on you, the one that people can see on you. The recessive ones, you still have them, but they are like hidden inside your body, and you can't like transfer them to the kids when you like later. But like it's not shown on you, but you still have them. Like not because you have the genes of the brown eye color, that means you just have brown eye color. You could be having the gene of the blue eye color, but it's recessive, so it's hidden inside you. Why can selective breeding lead to health problems in animals? This is very important. For selective breeding, when I selectively breed any animals, means that I choose organisms or individuals with specific desirable traits I want, and I make them reproduce to have more generations that have the same trait. So I am actually choosing one trait that I want, or I think it's good for me. Maybe it's not good for the animal itself. It's actually not good for the animal at all. So what the problem is, you focus on specific trait, like you need like big fruits, you need sweet fruits, you need a cow that produces large amount of milk. So you focus on one trait and you ignore that you are actually could be like multiplying other negative traits for the organism. So first, you will have less genetic diversity. It reduces variation. It makes all organisms the same, all individuals the same, with no change, with no variation, no differences. So it reduces genetic diversity. That's why it increases the chance of harmful genes. Like imagine that you chose the cow that produces the large amount of milk, but it has the gene of a harmful disease, and you keep passing on this disease again and again over generations. So they all have the same disease. So while multiplying a good trait, you actually did multiply a very bad trait by mistake. And it may also lead to inherited diseases or physical problems. It's like inbreeding. Inbreeding is like very similar organisms when they when they reproduce. It's like when relatives get married, they have genetic disorders and genetic problems. Maybe like physical problems. Maybe they don't move well. Maybe they have like overweight. They have inherited disease. Maybe you chose the dogs, like the bulldogs, that have like short noses that look cute for you, but you made them have breathing difficulties because they looked like cuter for you. Okay. Now the salt formation. To form the salt, you always need an acid and a base. Here the acid was hydrochloric acid, the base was sodium hydroxide. Here the acid is sulfuric acid, the base was again sodium hydroxide. Here hydrochloric acid, but the base is calcium carbonate. And always the result is water, always. The name of the salt is the one that changes and you need to memorize it. You take it from the acid and the base. So here the hydro and the hydroxide, they form the water, and whatever is left, it forms the salt. So here, just remove the hydro and the hydroxide and see what is left. You have the sodium and you have the chloric thing. So you have sodium chloride as a salt. Again, here remove the hydro part from the sulfuric, and remove the hydroxide here. So you have sodium sulfate. Again, remove the carbonate part and the hydro part, so you have calcium chloride. So here, because you had the carbonate, you formed with the water, you formed carbon dioxide. So it's just like the acid and the base. You take the positive part of the base and the negative part of the acid, and to form the salt. So let's see an example here. Just write it somewhere. Okay. If you have this part, if you want to take a closer look on the hydrochloric acid plus sodium hydroxide, that will make you NaCl plus H2O, sodium chloride and water. So here what happens is the H positive and the OH negative together, they form the water, and whatever is left, the sodium and the chloride, they form the salt here, but you put the positive first, then the negative. So you have NaCl, or sodium chloride. And that's what happens with all the salts. Mostly all the salts. Okay, this reaction is very important. The observation, what happens, how can we detect what is happening, why is it happening, what is the reason of every observation. You have to study it from the book, the HCl and magnesium reaction that we did in the lab. When you add the magnesium ribbon in the HCl, you start seeing bubbles of gas being formed, and the magnesium is dissolving slowly, and then after a few seconds you will find that bubbling eventually stops. So here it was reacting, producing a gas, which is hydrogen gas, and the magnesium was reacting with the hydrochloric acid dissolving. But after a few seconds you will find bubbling, no more bubbling, because of what? First you saw the bubbling because hydrogen gas is produced and magnesium was reacting with the acid to form magnesium chloride, but it stopped eventually because all the reactants were used up. So the reaction cannot continue. Like magnesium was used up or hydrochloric acid was used up, any of the reactants was used up. That's why the reactant will not continue if one of the, like the magnesium now turned into product or the hydrochloric acid turned into product. One of them turned into products first. That's why the reaction will not continue. Okay, bases are metals oxide or metal hydroxide, and they react with acids to form salt and water, and they have a pH which is more than 7 and less than 14, more than 7 till 14, yeah. And to call them bases, they could be like anything that has like metal oxide or metal hydroxide, but if they are soluble in water you also call them alkalis. How do bases form salts exactly? When they react with the acid, it's called neutralization reaction. Acids donate its H, its hydrogen ions, and bases donate their OH, their hydroxide ions, or oxide, and they form water and salt. That's it. Hydrogen from the acid, hydroxide from the base, together they will make water, and the rest will form the salt. How can concentration affect the rate of the reaction? You need to use the graph, means you need to explain the graph while like saying what is gonna happen or what is the effect exactly. Here you have a reaction. What is happening to the sodium, the volume of the sodium thiosulfate by the time? Actually, when the volume was 30, like it was so concentrated, the reaction took very short time, like almost 20 seconds or less than 20 seconds. But when the concentration became less, like 15, it took like 75 seconds or something. So when the concentration was high, the reaction took short time. That means it was faster. When the concentration became lower and lower, the reaction took longer time. Means it was slower. Here, when the concentration was the least, was almost 5, it took 300 seconds. Means it was too slow to take place. Why? Because we said that more concentration, more chances of successful collision, so faster the rate of the reaction. So you can actually kind of write the same answer which is written here. More concentration increases the reaction, more successful collision, as we said like many times before, and apply it on the graph as we said. What is selective breeding? Is also called artificial selection, means it's man-made process where humans choose specific animals or plants with specific traits or desirable traits and breed them. So it's the opposite of natural selection. Natural selection happens by nature. You don't control it, you don't do it. Selective breeding is selectively done by humans. So you just choose maybe like the cow that produces large amount of milk, the sheep that has like the best wool, any desirable trait you want, and you make the organisms breed and breed again over generations, so you can have the trait till the last generation. Why can it lead to animal health problems? We just talked about that. It can cause like inbreeding, because of inbreeding or genetic similarity, it can cause like genetic disorders. It reduces genetic variations, leading to illness or to be less adapted to their environment, and it can cause unhealthy traits, like it can transfer any bad trait or any negative gene, like the gene of any disease to the next generation. You keep just multiplying this gene. Natural selection, the superbug example is very important. The superbug is a term we call the microorganisms which can resist diseases, resist antibiotics, resist the medicines. So some people, they keep taking antibiotics for no reason, literally for no reason. Like, I have headache, I just take antibiotic, I'll be good. So this is actually so bad because the bacteria learn how to resist the antibiotic and become a superbug. This is a natural selection example. You have to memorize that this is a natural selection example. So when superbugs resist antibiotics, so you keep taking antibiotics, and the superbug or the bacteria in your body is not gonna get killed, that because it got adapted to it, or got used to it, it can resist it now. Nothing is gonna work if you keep taking antibiotics forever. It's not gonna get killed, and some people die because of this. Okay, about solar energy, is it important? It's very important. Solar energy is actually the energy you take from the sun, but you use the solar panels to convert the solar energy into electricity, and you use it at homes. There is, the calculator, it has like a very tiny solar panel on it, and in the water heaters also, you have it like in the street almost everywhere around you. So it's sun energy, but you convert it into electricity. What are the limitations or the disadvantages? It needs sunlight, so it can work perfectly in UAE, but it cannot work in all of the countries in the world. It can work in the morning, not at night. It cannot work if it's cloudy. It needs a sunny day. It's expensive to install, like it has very high initial cost, and it takes up a lot of space, like it will occupy your entire roof. The definition of zygote is also very important. The zygote is a fertilized egg cell formed when a male sperm cell joins with a female egg cell during fertilization. These two lines are very important. You need to literally memorize them as they are. It's an egg cell. It will be fertilized and by the male sperm cell, and this is called fertilization. How does it lead exactly to what is its role in reproduction? They carry the genes, like on the two cells, or inside the nucleus of the two cells, you have the genetic material from both parents, half from the male side and half from the female side, and they fuse to form the zygote, and the zygote grows into an embryo and grows into a new organism. And the zygote is the first cell of any new life you have. Then this zygote will grow and divide again and again to form the new organism. So its role mainly that the two cells, the egg cell and the sperm cell, they carry the genes inside their nucleus, and they fuse to form the zygote. And this zygote is gonna grow to, or like divide to form the new organism. Okay, the end. I wish you all the best in your exams. Study well, please, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.